Hello, good morning, and many thanks indeed for joining us here on Morning Prime. It is the 19th of September 2023, Tuesday. You have CS Affairs coming your way, where we take a critical analysis on the political landscape of what is happening right now with the resumption of the national dialogue, where we can see also Azimio is coming up with a new raft of confluence of issues that they're bringing on the table with also that particular office of the Prime Minister that they want to be part of the discussions as well. But the cost of living continues, of course, to take the center stage, with different reactions also from different quarters of the country right now. And seemingly also within the Kenya Kwanza, we have a rift that is widening, a chasm that is bound to be growing, with different voices saying that we should, or some of the leaders should be empathetic as far as their sentiments are concerned. We shall be looking at that with the panelists this morning. I'm joined by Danson Mungetana, who is a Tana River Senator. Also be joined by Tabitha Mutinda, who is a nominated Senator, and Dan Manzo much later in the course of the program. You get to drive a show with me as well. You can hit us on Twitter at KTN News. That is our X, so to speak, formerly Twitter. And also you can follow me at Dibal Ainea. Let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. And we begin with the bold paper, where the splash is all about making sense of it all. Does it? It doesn't make sense. That's actually what we have as a splash today. It doesn't make any lick of sense looking at the Rutonomics experts. They poke holes in President William Ruto's explanation on why cost of living is going through the roof, with little government intervention to tame it. They say when the economy is ailing, stimulus packages breathe life, but increased taxes snuff it. Manufacturers say they will pass the cost of consumers whom they want should brace for tough times. And this story continues on page 4, and also you have it in the Financial Standard that really comes in every Tuesday for you inside the Standard to get all the wiser as far as the finances is concerned. The fuel price headache, how do we go about it right now? Also, we have people who are crossing borders going to Tanzania and getting the fuel cheaply, selling it in the black market. That also is giving impetus to the black market and the selling of that fuel, which also is a very risky spawning ground for security purposes. Also, the picture is very telling. How they came out in force. The crowd massed yesterday. Thousands of National Youth Service officers lining up. That is, thousands of former National Youth Service officers line up at Embakasi Garrison, hoping to land one of the 350 slots available to join the Kenya Defence Force yesterday. This is just the reality on the ground, and how the menace of unemployment keeps on having or grabbing a chokehold on us as far as the youth are concerned. We talk about the youthful population that we do have in the country. That is a good dividend for us, but if they're employed, then that also is a tinderbox that is waiting to explode. What do you do with all this garden of energy? That is a probing question. You can follow this story inside the Standard on page 5, and of course we'll run you by that story as well in our news bulletin this morning. Points of departure for talks team. That is another story that you want to follow on page 6 of the Standard this morning. South Africa group bound by hate for foreigners. South Africa group bound by hate for foreigners. There is an activist group there that is very xenophobic, and you can follow that story on page 27 of the Standard this morning. Also, Champions League, time to separate boys from men. That is on page 40 of the Standard. This is how it looks this morning. Make sure you grab a copy of the bold paper. Also, insert teachers warn schools sinking in bad debts, and civil servants with mental illness triple. It's also a huge problem within the civil service right now, mental health. That is a Standard today. The Daily Nation, inside push for Raila 2027 run is what is holding the splash this morning, but more likely to cause an implosion in Azimio. Will it hold? And the flagger reads, opposition leaders ally terms the proposal as extraneous agenda. There is a strategy, a secret push is fast gaining momentum in ODM circles to have party chief and Azimio leader Raila Odinga take a sixth stab at the presidency in the 2027 elections. Though he has shown no interest, the opposition chief is said to be under pressure from some of his allies, but Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka and NARC Kenya's Martha Karua are also eyeing the top seat and will wish to get the endorsement of Mr. Odinga, who will be a prime 82. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also, Treasury is seeking additional 140 billion shillings to pay salaries. Kenyans will continue to bear huge economic burdens as President William Ruto backtracks on his spending plan for the current year, proposing to add recurrent spending this year by 140 billion shillings. Fresh data from Treasury reveals that the government now plans to increase the current financial year's budget by 162 billion shillings to 3.91 trillion shillings. More than 86% of the additional spending will go to the funding recurrent expenditure, which includes salaries. And you can read the rest of the story on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. The promissory note was to pare down by at least 300 billion shillings. But right now, we can see 160 billion shillings will be added over and above what was budgeted for. That is Dr. Will on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. I had a brain tumor, but doctors diagnosed epilepsy and panic attacks. This is tucked away inside Healthy Nation, the story of Deborah Munari, a nurse, narrating her misdiagnosis ordeal during an interview at Nation Center. And you can follow the story inside the Daily Nation this morning. Also, prodigal son returns. Man returns home after 50 years of self-exile in coast. Joseph Odongo was only 30 when he left his ancestral home in Riwa village in Homa Bay County in 1972. For 50 years, his family knew nothing about his whereabouts until last Thursday, when he showed up at home, aged 81. And this story continues on page 3. At least he can remember where his home is, right? And that story can follow it on page 3 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also inside the Standard as well, it is tucked away. And Man City begin UEFA title defense. Manchester City begin their defense of the Champions League today, when the group stage kicks off in the last season in its current format. You have a story on page 35 of the Daily Nation this morning. And why residents are going without fish. For residents of Lamu County, fish is their staple food, but the rising cost of fuel has led to an increase in the prices of fish, hitting both local and tourist hard. Right now, transportation has become a big problem, and that's why also they are not able to take their fish anymore because of lack of it in the market due to the recent cost of fuel. That is a blowback that we're suffering right now. That's the Daily Nation. The People Daily is holding the splash all about issues that Azimio is demanding, fresh ones at that. New twist: opposition wants high cost of living, harassment of its leaders and supporters, as well as preservation of IBC 2022 election materials included in the Bomas talks as dialogue enters crucial stage. You have the story on page 4 of the People Daily this morning, and you can see some of the team Azimio that it is participating in the national dialogue. Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition leaders Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa and Opiyo Wandayi leaving Bomas of Kenya after the conclusion of yesterday's session of the bipartisan talks. That story is all on page 4. And court allows police to detain Maigo murder suspect. That is on page 3. There is also a flash of interest in artificial intelligence that is hitting all-time high. This is according to a new report, and that is tucked away on page 16 of the People Daily this morning. Looking on the teaser on top, Ruto's 10-sector key to his agenda. That is a revelation there. Reveal 10 sectors key to Ruto's economic agenda. You can follow the story on page 6. Essential sectors here. We have education, we have ICT, health, and general economic and commercial affairs. And also the figures are given for each respective sector there. You can follow the story on page 6 of the People Daily this morning. Taifa Leo, risasi ya sita. Right? Raila Odinga is speculated that he will be giving a stab on the 2027 general election, and this is what Taifa Leo has picked up. Raila ambaye sasa yuko na miaka 78 akabiliwa na shinikizo za kuwania urais tena mwaka wa 2027. That is what the flagger is reading here, and you can follow the story inside Taifa Leo. Ni ushuru wa kujivinjari tu, and that is a story that you can follow on page 3. And Ratiba UEFA, you have the rota here, or the fixture of how the games will pan out. The resumption of UEFA champions today, Manchester City defending their title. You can read all about it inside Taifa Leo or get the fixture there. Mackenzie abaki gizani. Right now, him and his operatives will remain in custody for the next 180 days. And also Wakenya watafuta mafuta Tanzania. Right? Bodaboda na wavuvi waeleza hofu ya kushindwa kulipa mikopo sababu ya bei. And you can follow the story on page 5 of Taifa Leo this morning. Let's buckle down to some business. Government now takes up to 79 shillings in tax for every litre of fuel. KRA to collect 29.2 billion shillings per month on sale of fuel. Share of taxes, levies rises on higher landed cost, double VAT. Consumers are now paying up to 79 shillings as taxpayers per litre of fuel. As taxes, I should say, per litre of fuel, underlining the impact of the charges in inflating petroleum prices that will see the Kenya Revenue Authority collect 29.2 billion shillings per month from diesel, petrol and kerosene sales. The latest price review shows that 79.31 shillings goes to taxes and levies on every litre of petrol, followed by 63 and 35 cents a litre of diesel. And you can read the rest of the details inside the Business Daily this morning. This is how they're faring it right now when you break down the fuel prices. Currently trading at Des Super 211 shillings and 64 cents, 200 shillings and 99 cents for diesel, and 202 and 61 cents for kerosene. Also looking on the sidebar, input bill falls for first time since COVID. Kenya has this year posted a drop in the value of imports for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic era due to reduced expenditure on key supplies such as materials for factories, machinery, and fuel. Fresh official data shows this. And also CMA barred from Kakuzi director's probe. The Capital Markets Authority Tribunal has temporarily stopped proceedings brought against 9 senior officials of publicly listed firm Kakuzi by the industry regulator after they were served with a notice to show cause early this month. Also, we have on retail, investors splashed 130 billion shillings in state bonds. Retail investors grew their lending to government by 130.4 billion shillings to a new high of 418 billion shillings in first 8 months of this year, chasing the higher yields on offer amid a drought of returns in other assets classes in the economy. Also, Ruto budget set to rise by 162 billion shillings on spending carryover. President William Ruto's inaugural 2023-2024 budget is set to rise by 162 billion shillings or 4.3% to 3.9 trillion shillings from 3.7 trillion shillings expenditure plan earlier approved in June. The budget bust is partly attributed to carryover spending from the concluded 2022-2023, that is 2023, I should say, fiscal cycle, and a host of regular expenditures that go into day-to-day running of both counties and the national governments. You have the story also well laid out for you on page 2 of the Business Daily. That's how it looks this morning, and also you can read on the market data on how the trading was yesterday as far as the Nairobi Security Exchange is concerned. Let's cross over to Uganda, where Birigwa picks form for re-election bid. That is what we have on the splash this morning. And special report there, the bloodline running Uganda's top medal hands. You can see all the details tucked away there on page 4 of the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. And fingers crossed as NSSF is set to announce interest to servers. That is happening also in Uganda. Music family mourns singer Evelyn Lago. That is another story there. A family in mourning and a celebrity lost in Uganda. You can read all about it inside the Daily Monitor. In Tanzania, French farm to operate Zanzibar port. Remember, the port has been a very contentious issue in Tanzania, whether it was sold or leased, some of these ports. And you can read the rest of the details there. This is happening in the Republic of Zanzibar. Zanzibar officially handed over the management of operations of its Malindi port to French firm Africa Global Logistics, AGL, yesterday, as it anticipates a rise in efficiency and revenues. You have a story on page 2. Here we have legislators, some of them, who are opposing the privatization or giving it to the private firms to run the ports here in the country. This has been happening around East Africa. A lot of transparency, they say, should be laid bare as far as these transactions are made. Record 3.8 million tourist arrivals beckon. That is also tucked away inside the Citizen, happening in Tanzania. Tira research to ascertain insurable government property. That is another story that you want to follow inside the Citizen as well. Farmers told to increase peas, sesame farming as well. You can follow the story inside the Citizen. In Rwanda, sign language in courts. What does it mean? The launch of a sign language dictionary is expected in October this year. You can follow the story on page 4 in Rwanda, making it all inclusive also for the other abled as well, who sometimes they encounter difficulties to follow the court's proceedings because of lack of the sign language. And inside the multi-billion Inzovu Mall, right, the multi-billion dollar shopping center is expected to be completed in September 2025, and 40,000, the total built-up area will encompass approximately 40,000 square meters, accompanied by parking facilities for around 500 cars. That is happening in Uganda as well. Rwanda startups get $50,000 grant from Bill Gates funded initiative, and Rwanda's economy grew by 6.3% in second quarter. That story continues on page 4 of the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda this morning. Right, I shall be showing you what we have on the front page of East African, also the front page of other publications, The Economist as well, the New Times, and other international publications in the course of the program, and also we'll tease out some of the editorial cartoons that we have this morning. And just as mentioned, we have a lot of issues to discuss regarding the cost of living and also the bipartisan talks. And remember also there is a resumption of the Senate today after a 2-week break or recess. Still, we have also the National Assembly, which is on recess until next week, when they shall resume and continue pace with the business of the House as well. But just as you saw, thousands of job seekers thronged the Embakasi Garrison grounds in Nairobi on Monday, seeking to secure the 350 vacancies advertised by Kenya for Defense Forces. This lays bare the high rate of unemployment bedeviling the country, which stands at 4.9% by the last quarter of the year 2023. As Dalma Sakali reports, the recruitment drive was targeting individuals who have undergone National Youth Service training.
Monday morning, Embakasi Garrison Grounds, Nairobi, was host to around 7,000 job seekers from across the country, all here to try their luck at the 350 jobs advertised by the Kenya Defense Forces KDF, targeting individuals who have undergone the National Youth Service training. A clip that circulated on social media showed a mammoth crowd, one you could easily confuse for a political rally, that spilled over to the eastern bypass and caused a traffic snarl-up. Josh Otieno, a youth from Kibra here in Nairobi, says he was here by 4 a.m. to try his luck, though he was not lucky enough.
Mimi nilipata wengine hiyo time nilikuja. Saa 10 asubuhi. Bila tumeingia ndani, tumepita hizo stages zote, nimeenda stages zenye walisema, document zenye walisema niko nazo. But kufika medication, wakaniambia niko na max siwezi enda.
The scenario was the same for Ndiri Hillary and Faith Chebet, who cry foul at how the exercise was conducted, claiming there was a change of the rules in the middle of the game.
Umejua saa hii tunaweza sema sisi kama NOS, serikali kuna deni yetu because tumeenda toka wasavu. So saa hii this is the opportunity wenye wanafaa wachukue sisi kama NOS, watuandike kwa kazi.
Mi kila kitu, mi hata nikijiangalia, height iko sawa, mwili, mi nikikimbia hii mwili itapunguka. Usiniangalie hivi. Document iko sawa. Sasa saa hii hapa unataka mtukue aje watu wa NYS?
It is not any different for Zainabu Noor and Faith Chebet, who traveled all the way from Mombasa and Tiati in Baringo County respectively. In an announcement last week, KDF noted that eligible applicants should possess a clearance certificate from NYS and have scored a minimum of grade D plane in the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE.
Tumelala hapa, so tulitolewa juu ya documents. Unaenda hapo unaambiwa nini, ID yako ifanani na nini, kama jina moja imeachwa, kama unaitwa tuseme Fatuma na Hen tuseme Nur, unaambiwa hiyo si jina yako, ukuja na nini, David.
Tukikuja tulikuwa tumeambiwa min grade ya D plane, lakini wakati tulifika hapa tukaambiwa wanataka grade ya D+.
Robert Rono, who has tried his luck at being employed in the forces for 9 years now, is a dejected man.
Mwisho ni 30 years. Sasa niko na 29. Sasa nikisikia nikikuja hawataniruhusu. Sasa kama wange consider ningepatika hii. Sasa hao wenye bado wako na miaka, unaweza pata hata wenye wamechukuliwa labda wako na miaka 8 bado ya kujaribu.
Jamaa mwingine ameambiwa anakaa mwenda wazimu. Surely hiyo ni fair.
The story of Rono and other thousands of youth exposes the dire situation of unemployment across the country, which according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics stood at 4.90% in the fourth quarter of 2022, with the situation likely to worsen as companies downsize their staff due to unmanageable payrolls caused by the ever-increasing taxes and tax proposals. According to the data, 36% or 10.1 million Kenyans of the country's 28 million population eligible for the labor market are out of work. Sakali Dalmas, KTN News.
Now, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is now proposing the creation of the office of the Prime Minister and 2 deputies in a suggestion akin to one proposed under the Building Bridges initiative that was shut down by the Supreme Court over a year ago. In a report by the Technical Committee of a 10-member National Dialogue Committee, the opposition also wants the delimitation of boundaries slated for March next year to consider the one-man, one-vote or one-shilling agenda to ensure equal distribution of resources. As KTN's political affairs reporter Emmanuel Tour now reports, the dialogue seems well on course as the committee now sets the stage to host the IEBC Secretariat and the IEBC Selection Panel for a discussion this Friday.
Slightly over a year and a half since the Supreme Court slammed brakes on the constitutional amendment process under the Building Bridges initiative, it appears the 10-member National Dialogue Committee sitting at the Bomas of Kenya may be well on course to return some of the proposals contained in the process that ran into headwinds. In the harmonized document detailing the unbundling of issues of discussion by the National Dialogue Committee, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya team has now proposed the creation of the office of the Prime Minister and 2 deputies, a proposal that was central in the BBI process.
We have many issues that we have convergence on, and a few that we have issues of divergence on.
There's convergence on the need to reconstitute the IEBC, but the how is not been agreed.
Although there is convergence in the creation of the said office, Kenya Kwanza has stood its ground with a proposal only to embed the office of the Prime CS in law as one of the constitutional offices. Azimio also wants the boundary delimitation process in the country, slated for March next year, to be considered under the one man, one vote, one shilling agenda to ensure fair, equitable distribution of resources. Azimio has also proposed that the delimitation of boundaries function be hived off from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) and a new constitutional body take up the mandate with less than 6 months to the boundary review. Although Article 89 of the Constitution has not spelled out the county boundary review, Azimio maintained there is need to include the review of the 47 units and done by a constitutional commission on county boundaries.
I will be dealing with this important matter of interim measures, which are also key, and they are confidence-building measures. And for example, the difficult issue of the high cost of living, we will deal with it.
After hearing from the stakeholders, so that we benefit from the views and thought processes of other Kenyans, we shall then sit and now begin that difficult work of being able to bring all those views, those from our side and those from our colleague side, and benefiting from the knowledge of other Kenyans, putting them together.
The team will this Friday start the process of hearing presentations from the 142 members of the public who presented their public memoranda to the committee. The committee has also extended the period for the public to send their views to the committee until Friday this week, when they expect to hit the ground running.
Among those groups that we'll be inviting this Friday is the Secretariat of the IEBC, the working group on the 2/3 gender rule, the working group as established by the ministry, and the IEBC selection panel, and we shall allocate each of the invited teams a maximum of 20 minutes to be able to give as an exposition of their memoranda.
This comes as President William Ruto held another meeting with Delaware Senator Christopher Coons in New York, USA, with the head of state stating that the meeting was meant to promote human rights and democracy. Coons has been central in bringing both Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to the negotiation table. Emmanuel To, KTN News, Nairobi.
And as Kenyans continue to grapple with the high cost of living, there seems to be internal wrangles in the Kenya Kwanza administration over the same, going by utterances by different government officials who have been accused of ridiculing Kenyans. Our reporter, Grace Nyanga, takes us through some of the sentiments that have been since disregarding as not representative of the government.
This is an economic moment.
Since lowering the high cost of living was Kenya Kwanza vote hunting charm, you will think life will only get better for a regime that outrightly criticized former government for being insensitive by imposing high taxation on Kenyans.
Tuesday, you will be choosing a plan that will reduce the cost of living.
The hustler narrative gave confidence to Kenyans to elect President William Ruto, as they could easily relate with his agenda that targeted people with low standards of living.
Kura yenu ni ya kitendawili ama hustler? Kura yenu ni ya nani?
But 1 year down the line, Kenyans are swallowing a bitter pill as they grapple with the soaring high cost of living. And although the president has assured Kenyans that he's working round the clock to turn around the skyrocketing cost of living, some of his top guns are showing little to no empathy, further ruffling feathers by making reckless remarks. As soon as energy body IPRA in its latest review increased fuel prices, a split seems to have emerged with some legislators calling for sacking of some top government officials over their utterances that do not resolute with the stand of the government. When he was asked by Kenyans on why cost of living is high despite the campaign promises, Ruto's economic advisor David Ndii appeared to indicate that Kenya Kwanza's economic recovery strategy is mere guesswork. Ndii said, and I quote, "Maybe better, maybe worse. Who knows? We do what we think can work. If it doesn't, too bad. Doctors lose patients all the time despite their best efforts." End of quote. In another thread, he said, and I quote, "I don't believe politicians and I don't trust government. If you do either, you are a sucker." End of quote. The controversial remarks on increase in fuel prices did not end there. Trade CS Moses Kuria told of Kenyans who are complaining about fuel prices to drill their own oil wells.
Sasa ukizinda kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni, bei ya mafuta imeongezeka, si uchimbe kisima yako.
During a grilling session by a parliamentary committee on energy, CS Davis Churchill said at the moment there is nothing the government can do to reduce the fuel prices that have soared to a record high that has never been witnessed in the country, as the price hikes are primarily as a result of the unpredictable fluctuations in the global crude oil market. Now, some legislators within the Kenya Kwanza administration have joined religious and opinion leaders and the general public in demanding the sacking of some cabinet secretaries and economic advisors, accusing them of misadvising Ruto and ridiculing Kenyans.
President Ruto, sack these people, otherwise serikali yako sasa hata small function like this inaanza kukaa kama iko na sura mbaya.
And even after Deputy President urged leaders to be emphatic,
this committee has even noted that very good progress from none other than the Deputy President. Positive intervention by the Deputy President to call people to order, to be sensitive to the issues that His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka is speaking about, the issue of the cost of living.
Kuria seems to be unapologetic.
Hii maneno tunaongea, maneno ya bei ya mafuta iko duniani kila pahali. The only thing I can ask God to do is to give me the grace and the serenity to accept it, because I cannot change it.
And with the current spat, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi also waded into the debate, warning that their outburst by some government officials do not reflect the government's official position, hinting at a possible cabinet reshuffle. Grace Nga, KTN News, Nairobi.
Right, also you need to grab a copy of the Star. This is weather according to Moses Kuria. Economic forecast. We expect continued highs in most parts and lows in Ruero and different regions of the country. This is just recent, of course, just following that particular story and his sentiments, and how also we should be doubling up maybe by 10 shillings every month on top of what we currently paying at the fuel stations as far as fuel prices is concerned. Economic forecast according to Moses Kuria. Right, that is just on a lighter note. But former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga on Monday appeared before the Makadara law courts after he was on Sunday night set free after an alleged abduction over the weekend. Njenga, who is reported to have been abducted alongside his aide Felix Lakishe, was dropped off in Banana area, Kiambu County at around 10 p.m. According to Njenga, the abductors blindfolded him and Lakishe before driving away. Njenga is now asking the courts to issue protection orders against police officers over harassment. His release came hours after the Azimio Umoja coalition raised alarm accusing police of orchestrating the abduction. William Osige reports.
A Makadara court has been urged by lawyers representing former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga to issue protection orders against police officers over harassment. Lawyers representing Njenga told Makadara Chief Magistrate Tito Gesora on Monday that on Saturday evening around 10 p.m., Njenga and Lekishe were abducted by hooded police who knew they were to appear in court on Monday.
This court has jurisdiction under Section 8 of the Magistrates Act to protect its subjects, because being accused persons before this court, they are the mandate of this court, and this court is called upon to issue such protective orders.
The court further heard that Njenga was later dumped in Limuru Banana Estate on Sunday. The lawyer reporting that after hours of engagement, Njenga was once more blindfolded as the abductors drove off to another destination.
Tulifungwa vizuri sana uso, gari ikaenda kama masaa mawili, alafu ikachenjiwa zingine, tunachenjiwa kama umefungwa tu na hujui unaenda wapi wala umesimama wapi ama pahali unaenda kwa nyumba gani. Hiyo ni tocha ya hali ya juu sana. Kenya imeshakuwa na uhuru.
Njenga was in court for a pre-trial of his case, where he was charged with being in possession of pangas and rungus, among other dangerous weapons. His lawyer requested for the confiscated items, including mobile phones, by the police to be returned to the accused.
He was released by the persons who had abducted him. So briefly, today we were in court and we have raised that issue, and the court has indicated that it will form substantively, it will inform its judgment when evidence is taken.
The DPP denied knowing anything about the abduction and only learned of it in the media.
No one should be treated or subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment. And if at the end of the day it is demonstrated that there was such treatment and it impacted on the due process and the trial, then it will definitely, you will know that it will definitely count towards what kind of decision I will make at the end of the day.
In July, together with his aide and brother, Njenga was charged with being in possession of Masai rungus, bows and arrows, among other things. The case will be heard on December 3rd. Willie Lusige, KTN News, Nairobi.
So you got only one mama. You only got one power. You only got one life to live. No matter who you are, you can go the whole world over. Every city has its dawn, but everybody liveth has one place where he was born. And mine is Kenya, so warm and wild and free. You'll always stay with me here in my heart. My land is Kenya. Right from your highlands to the sea, you'll always stay with me here in my heart. Here in my heart. You only got one childhood and the memories that spring. When you see your house, the tree you climbed, and all those precious things, the faces of the friends I had, the images that flow. When I close my eyes in the land I love, the land I was born. My land is Kenya, so warm and wild and free. You'll always stay with me here in my heart. My land is Kenya, right from highlands to the sea. You'll always stay with me here in my heart. Here in my heart. My land is Kenya. And that is the breaking news this morning, where the folk singer Roger Whittaker, famous for his 1969 hit song, Durham Town, Expert Whistling, My Land is Kenya, has died at the age of 87. I don't know, we resonate so much with that particular song, My Land is Kenya, especially when we had the promulgation of a constitution. And those were the lyrics from that particular song. So that is actually the story that we wanted to break this morning. Roger Whittaker is dead. The former, or the folk singer, who is famous for the hit song Durham Town, Expert Whistling, My Land is Kenya, and he died at the age of 87. Our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences for his family this morning. Right, we just wanted also to inform you regarding the Communications Authority, where the Director General, Ezra Chiloba, has been suspended. A brief statement by Board Chair Mary Mongai states that the suspension on mandate followed a board meeting. As a result, Christopher Wambua has been appointed as Acting Director General. The suspension comes 2 years after his appointment to the docket. He took over from Francis Wangusi following his retirement in 2021. And we want also to give an update of what is happening at the Sustainable Development Goals Summit, where President William Ruto attended the United Nations General Assembly's high-level political forum on SDGs in New York, United States. Later on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he held talks with President of Albania, Bajram Begaj, who expressed his country's interest in opening an embassy in Kenya. He also met Slovakia President Zuzana Kapotova, who committed to supporting Kenya's e-mobility initiatives using their advanced e-battery technologies. They also agreed to partner to enhance Kenya's fertilizer production and cybersecurity capacity.
Seeking a better life. Parents watching helplessly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Great. In the standard, it's all about also the taxes, and it seems also the animals, right? Our wild animals also, they are protesting right now. To hell with taxes. That is what we have from one of them. Giraffe is no more taxes. These taxes are unacceptable. That is the elephant and the monkey there. Mambo ni matatu. No taxes, no taxes, no taxes. And blankety blank taxes. That is what the gorilla is saying here. And this is from the Nairobi Park. All right. Also, they're protesting the taxes. I'd given you also this earlier, where according to Moses Kuria, who says we are continuing to experience or will expect continued highs in most parts and lows in Ruero, right? And also we have today's steno and on the state of the workers' union as well. It seems Atwoli has been zipped. This is the workers' lobbies and employers actually. They are crushing their employees, as you can see there, under their feet. And these particular organizations, they remain mealy-mouthed. And this is what Stano has done so far. Right, we shall be discussing a lot of this with our panelists this morning. Let me just hear from them first of all. Tabitha Mutinda is joining us, nominated senator. Also, we have Danson Mungatana with us, senator of Tana River. We're expecting Dan Mazo also to join us. It's going to 7. If Dan Mazo has not shown up, maybe he'll be sending a text as well. But we'll continue pace with the conversation nonetheless. Let's just hear from our panelists this morning. Tabitha, good to see you. Right, depressing news that we can start on a lighter note, not really on a lighter note, but also on a heavy note for the family of Roger Whittaker. And I know you resonate with that particular song in one way or the other. It can bring some memories to you. I don't know how you remember Roger Whittaker, or if ever knew that Roger Whittaker was the one who actually wrote that song and sang that particular song. My Land is Kenya.
Yeah, it's actually a sad morning for us, and condolences to his family. But what also surprises me is I didn't know you know how to really sing.
Myself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great. But honestly, it's quite sad, you know, having a white person singing about Kenya. He's so passionate, it's so grateful, respectful.
He's a Kenyan himself.
He's Kenyan, but being white also, and that passionate of also singing about Kenya is something very great. It's a big loss. It's a big loss. It's a song that I also have listened to before. It's a wonderful one. You know, it's great.
It's great.
It's a loss.
Fantastic, fantastic. Danso Mugatana, how do you remember Roger Whittaker?
I used to sing his songs.
You used to sing his songs.
The one of the
you are actually singing the choir in Parliament. I was surprised to see Danso Mugatana is a choir.
This one was actually a very favorite. If you remember, I don't know if you are still there or you have been born. We used to have cassette players. Did you see them?
Yeah.
You saw them? Huh?
Yeah. We were born with the dinosaurs. So
So we used to have a whole collection for Roger Whittaker at home. So all those songs about being on the tree, the glory train, are beautiful memories.
Beautiful memories.
Yeah, beautiful memories, and sad to hear that he has gone. God bless him. I hope makes it to heaven.
Indeed. Yeah, we hopefully he makes it to heaven. And that song, when we talk about patriotism, we saw how it's also brought Kenyans together, especially during the promulgation. I remember that's when we really felt that this is truly my land. We have a new constitution. Everyone is celebrating it. Everyone is celebrating the fact that, you know, we're entering into a new dispensation. And Kenya is actually treading a new path as far as devolution is concerned, which now actually you're the senators and you're beneficiary for that particular constitution as well. But yeah, aside from that, where we wish the family our deepest sympathy and condolences as well. Right, so we want to continue and just hear from our panelists this morning the resumption of Senate today after a 2-week break. So what is in the up your collective sleeves as far as the resumption of Parliament is concerned?
Obviously, okay, there's the normal stuff that is there, pending legislation, the motions that have been listed even previously. The continuing business will be on the paper, but on the order paper. But I know that somehow one of the things that will find its way to the floor of the House in one way or the other
is the cost of living.
Cost of living, high cost of living, is going to be an issue, and we are grappling with this reality. We had Moses Wetangula in Tana River this weekend, and one of the things that we discussed in these public meetings was the high cost of fuel. The high cost of fuel is the one that is making all these things, increase in prices. So the high cost of fuel is equivalent to high cost of living. And on my part, as Senator for Tana River, I've been taking my time to explain to our people that it is true. The cost of living is high, and the cost of living is going to affect all of us. There is no denying that people have really felt the increase of the fuel prices. For the first time in Kenya, we are hitting 200 shillings and beyond. So it is true we are having a problem, and one of the biggest way of solving an issue is to accept there is a problem before you start attacking that problem. Now, accepting there's a problem, you also have to understand that problem before you start finding ways and means of solving that problem. As we are talking now, it's not just Kenyans, but even the people in the business of oil itself are complaining. If you follow discussions around this area, you will see big oil marketers like Total Energies are saying, look, the landed costs, the costs of shipping all the oil from where we buy it to come and sell it here in Kenya has increased by 17.3%. Total Energies itself, when they were declaring their financial performance, the year ending 2022, December 2022, they said for us, we had to take 14.5 billion loans to support operations. Our profits has dipped to 2.4 billion that year, that particular year, which was by about 10.4%. So even the oil marketers are saying we're having a problem. And for them, and you see now, I'm not talking about what politicians are saying, what government is saying. I'm talking about the people in real business. They are saying the cost of crude on the world market has increased. The Kenya shilling has also depreciated. So obviously, the pump prices are going to be higher than normal. So look at it this way. The business people are telling you, we are buying this crude at a higher costs in the global market. Our transportation costs have increased by 17.3%. So the landed costs are higher. Obviously, the cost at the pump will be higher. The fuel cost at the pump will be higher. And remember, your shilling has depreciated. So these are business people telling you as it is. And we need to accept that when a businessman who is on the road where the tire meets the tarmac is telling you, you can't ignore that. So, but unfortunately, they don't have platforms like this to explain all this. They keep on just issuing statements written and they leave it at that. They are handling the realities as they are. So when the landed costs are high, they have to make some marginal profits. And those profits means increase in prices to cover themselves. And then when you look at that, it therefore means the prices will have to go up because of the realities of the business of oil. Maybe we don't have to all say that because of this nothing can be done. We have to be alive to the fact that at the global level, prices fluctuate, and they will probably stabilize a little later than now, because now the northern hemisphere is facing winter, and they are all going to the price is going to have to come up because the demand is high, and one of the biggest producers of oils in the world is Russia, and the supply chains have been interrupted because of the sanctions that Russia has been put under because of their war with Ukraine. So when you look at all these factors, the demand, the way the business is talking, you'll need to understand the problem so that you don't politicize the problem. You look at it with bare facts. Like when now you go into a taxi guy and he tells you, or a matatu for that matter, and he tells you, look, the prices have to increase today. Maybe you are paying 100 shillings, you pay 120. You don't argue with him because he's telling you how the business is. He's buying at a higher price and he has to put it at a higher price. And that's how it is for now. We pray that the global oil supply chain will be restored. We pray that the global prices, the crude prices, will also stabilize. This then will reflect downwards and cascade all the way to our nation. And we need to look at this thing dispassionately. That is how I've been explaining myself to my voters in Tana River, and I hope the nation also understands that if I am buying meat, I'm a wholesaler and I'm buying meat at this amount, and where I'm sourcing the live animal they have increased their prices, then I am bound by economic factors to push the price increase to the ultimate consumer. And that is how it is. And if Kenyans can understand this, then we have understood the problem and we start attacking the problem. That's how I see it.
All right. Yeah. Okay, Tabitha, we circle back with you when we take a short break so that I don't interrupt you. It's 7 o'clock on the nose right now. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. When we circle back, of course, we continue with the conversation, the pace regarding the cost of living that we are grappling with. It's a global affair or a global sort of issue that is affecting everyone right now. But what immediate action can the government do to cushion Kenyans? Right, we've been told that there's nothing much we can do. These are externalities, factors and shocks that we have to grapple with as it stands right now. But looking across also other countries as well, they're facing the global menace of the rising cost of the crude oil. That is a crude reality that we are facing as well here in the country. Had we maybe not really taken the 8% VAT up to 16, that would have been a sort of a respite and relief for us. I don't know. We circle back with more.